Alexis froze, heart pounding, as she caught sight of Daniel, her fiancé, locked in a passionate kiss with another woman in his sleek living room. What was meant to be a surprise visit now shattered her world. Stifling her tears, she whispered, "Daniel." His guilty eyes met hers, but his rushed apology only deepened the betrayal. Please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories. Felicia and Faith met during their second year in college. They shared a deep connection right from the start, drawn together by similar dreams and values. Their friendship blossomed as they spent late nights studying, shared their ambitions, and supported each other through exams and life's ups and downs. By the time they graduated, they were inseparable, and everyone knew that if you found one, the other was nearby. After leaving college, Felicia and Faith both married wonderful men and, as fate would have it, ended up living in the same neighborhood. Their bond grew even stronger as they continued to be a part of each other's lives. Shortly after they settled into their married lives, Felicia gave birth to a beautiful baby girl named Alexis, who was as charming as she was intelligent. Not long after, Faith was blessed with a handsome baby boy named Frank. The two children grew up in the same neighborhood, spending countless hours together and becoming best friends just like their mothers. It was as though destiny had woven a new thread connecting their lives, binding both families even closer together. From a young age, Alexis was spirited and bold, while Frank was quieter and more sensitive. Alexis naturally took on a protective role, looking out for Frank and shielding him from any teasing or bullying at school. Frank, being a bit of a crybaby in his early years, often found himself under Alexis's wing. She was his source of comfort, his shield, and his closest friend. Despite his growing affection for her, Frank kept his feelings to himself, fearing that expressing them might change the unique friendship they shared. As they grew older, Alexis and Frank's bond only deepened. They went through primary and secondary school side by side, sharing memories and milestones. Eventually, Alexis discovered her love for cooking and, with hard work and determination, opened her own restaurant. She poured her heart and soul into the business, creating a place that became well known for its delicious meals and warm ambience. Frank, on the other hand, followed his passion for architecture and secured a respectable position as an architect. Both were successful in their own right, but while Alexis openly shared her struggles and achievements with Frank, he remained more reserved. Frank was the kind of person who believed in handling his issues alone, thinking it was a sign of strength. Throughout the years, Alexis and Frank leaned on each other in different ways, with Alexis often confiding in Frank about her personal challenges, including the frustrations of running a business and the disappointments of romantic relationships. Despite the depth of Frank's love for her, he never confessed his feelings, fearing that he might lose the friendship they shared. Then, one day, Alexis began dating a handsome Nigerian man named Daniel. Their relationship blossomed quickly, and Alexis was soon wearing an engagement ring. She was overjoyed, eager to start a new chapter in her life. But for Frank, it was a bittersweet moment. He watched her happiness from afar, forcing a smile while hiding the heartbreak that was tearing him apart inside. A few days after the engagement, Alexis decided to surprise Daniel with a visit, hoping to spend some spontaneous time together. When she arrived unannounced at his sleek, modern home, she was met with a scene that shattered her world. There, on the couch, Daniel was locked in an embrace with another woman. The shock stopped her in her tracks. "Daniel," she whispered, disbelief flooding her voice. Daniel, startled, quickly broke away from the woman. "I'm sorry, baby," he stammered, but Alexis had already seen enough. "Was this all I meant to you?" she asked, her voice trembling. Without waiting for an answer, she turned and left, her heart feeling as if it had shattered into a million pieces. Alexis drove straight to Frank's office, hoping to mask her sadness with her usual jovial demeanor. But Frank, who knew her better than anyone, saw through the facade. "What's wrong?" Alexis?" he asked gently. She forced a smile and tried to brush off his concern, but Frank persisted. "Alexis, please, tell me. What happened?" Finally, unable to hold it in any longer, she broke down in tears. "He cheated on me, Frank. Daniel cheated on me," she cried, her voice full of anguish. Frank's heart ached for her, and although he was angry at Daniel for hurting her, he knew that what she needed most was comfort. Over the following days, he did everything in his power to lift her spirits. They went on spontaneous outings, played games, and he even managed to make her laugh again. Slowly, the pain began to fade. 3 months later, Daniel reached out to Alexis, asking her to meet up. She agreed, determined to give him back the engagement ring and close that chapter of her life. When they met, Daniel apologized profusely, blaming his actions on a moment of weakness. "You miss me?" "After 3 months," she replied coldly. "I only came to return your engagement ring. Goodbye, Daniel." With that, she walked away, leaving her past behind. One evening, Frank invited Alexis out to dinner. As they laughed and reminisced over shared memories, Frank felt a surge of courage. Gathering himself, he looked at her and said, "Alexis, there's something I've wanted to tell you for a long time. I love you. I have loved you for the longest time, but I didn't tell you because I didn't want to ruin our friendship." Alexis was stunned. She sat there in silence, unable to process the confession. Frank's voice broke through her thoughts. "Alexis, this is the part where you're supposed to say something." But she couldn't find the words and, feeling overwhelmed, stood up and left the restaurant, leaving Frank heartbroken. Back home, Alexis couldn't stop thinking about Frank's confession. Felicia, noticing her daughter's turmoil, suggested she try going on a blind date. Alexis reluctantly agreed, thinking it might help her clear her mind. A few days later, Faith also encouraged Frank to go on a blind date, sensing her son's unhappiness. "You need someone to take care of you, Frank." Even Alexis went on a blind date, Faith hinted. Surprised, Frank felt his heart sink and quickly called Alexis. They met, and he confronted her. "You went on a blind date, Alexis. After I told you how I felt about you," he asked, hurt in his voice. She explained that she was only trying to understand her feelings and hadn't meant to hurt him. Realizing she loved him too, she said, "I love you too, Frank. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner." At her words, Frank's face lit up, and they shared a kiss. The next day, Alexis and Frank decided to tell their parents about their relationship. To their surprise, Felicia and Faith already knew. "We knew you loved each other but were too afraid to say it," they said, smiling. "That's why we suggested the blind dates. And, we saw you two sharing a kiss, so it's safe to say our plan worked." They all laughed, and with their family's blessings, Alexis and Frank found themselves surrounded by love and support. The bond between both families grew stronger, and they celebrated the beginning of a beautiful future together. As time passed, Frank and Alexis's love only deepened, grounded in years of friendship and trust. They built a life filled with joy, laughter, and shared dreams, grateful for the journey that brought them to each other. Their families, especially Felicia and Faith, continued to be a vital part of their lives, always reminding them of the bonds that started it all. And so, bound by friendship and destined by love, Alexis and Frank lived happily, creating memories and cherishing the love that had been there all along.